I want to welcome all of you to Maiden, North Carolina for a special occasion for the Carolina Nonwovens Division of National Spinning Company. And I know many of you came from long distances. I see so many friends, and just thank you for being here. It means a lot to us. This is the official opening of this new facility. You must know we have been in production here for about 4 months, but we did complete the move of one of the production lines from our old Lincolnton plant to this plant last week. There's so many people that made this day possible that we would probably get through lunchtime if I took everyone individually. So I am going to recognize a few people individually and a few as a group and everyone as a team. First and absolutely the most important are the associates that work in this plant. And everyone that works here, for those seated, stand. Come on guys, stand up. And Ed Hull, and where is Ed, who's the Director of Operations here. And to Donald Kennedy, our corporate engineer. From Beulaville, North Carolina. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. Secondly, our loyal customers are here, and some customers from our other 3 divisions. National Spinning Company has yarn plants in Beulaville, Whiteville, Burlington, and a distribution center in Kinston. Are you beginning to get the theme? It's all North Carolina. Yeah. We have another division, Hampton Art Inc., that's in the craft markets, that is headquartered in Washington, North Carolina. And in addition, our corporate office is in Washington. We acquired this business in March of 2012 and began operations in Lincolnton, and it became apparent very, very quickly that we liked the nonwoven business, and likely we needed some additional capacity. There were many benefits that we could could see if we could get everything in one roof. So we began to look for a building and subsequently for land, and we had a couple of criteria early on. One was it had to be somewhere close enough to our existing plant that all of the employees that work for us would have the option to come here and work without having an undue issue in the length of the drive they would have to make to find employment. And many of all the people you see here today are those that had worked in our plant in Lincolnton, and now they're in Maiden in a new plant. We didn't find a building. Found one that we thought about doing some rehab work on, and Governor, the Department of Commerce, and Pat Mitchell were going to make it possible for us to rehab an old building, but it just didn't make sense. So we called a good friend of mine, Robert Dunn, with the Sump Corporation. Is Robert here yet? I know he was running late, but it's coming. I said, Robert, we need a plant site. So he called me and said, I want you to come to Maiden. And I was on my first trip here from, and by the way, I knew where Catawba County was because I lived here in 1969 and 70. But my first trip here, it occurred to me about the time I came through Kinston that I needed to make a phone call and try to find someone that might could tell us how to get through the trees and the wilderness in Catawba County. And a friend of mine with Commerce had said, call Julie. So I called Julie in the Catawba County Economic Development Corporation. I said, Julie, I'm on the way to Maiden. Can you meet me here in 30 minutes? She didn't have a clue who I was. And Donna was here waiting for us when we arrived on this plant. Julie was here, and Donna had given me her name. Donna Phillips had given me her name. And she was here waiting when we arrived. So Julie, stand up. She is dedicated to the creation of investment and jobs in Catawba County and could not have been more helpful to us. This piece of property is in what will be, we hope, an industrial park with other tenants. Was a former site for Carolina Mills spinning plant, the J.W. Abernathy spinning plant. My good friend, George Moretz of Carolina, and did George get here yet, Ed?
I haven't seen him.
George is coming. George Moretz and Brian Bill. We made contact with them, and we agreed that we would buy this piece of property. This was in April of 2015. And I ask you to, or urge you to take a look at the video, and you'll see the timeline on how we got to where we are today. So, on April the 23rd, Julie arranged for representatives from the town of Maiden, the county of Catawba, and some others to be in our plant in Burlington, North Carolina. And literally, Donald, this was on the back of an envelope on April the 23rd, 2015. And we had been recommended to Matthews Construction Company. And they're here today. And we talked about it, talked about tight timetables, because as we're so prone to do, we had already bought the equipment. It was being manufactured in Italy and France. So we looked at the timetables, and the Matthews team said we can do that. And I won't bore you with the details of the project, but even a blind hog finds an acorn occasionally. And we found Matthews Construction Company. And they're all here today. Bob, Gary, Andy, and Donnie Johnson, who was the project superintendent. You all stand up. And if there are any of the subcontractors that were involved in this building, stand up, because we couldn't have done it without you. We walked out of the meeting on April the 23rd, and on a handshake, Matthews ordered the steel, right? Ordered the steel on a handshake. On the day before Thanksgiving, we had the certificate of occupancy for this building, 92,000 square feet. We couldn't have done it without you guys. Fantastic. Are my bankers here yet? Our bankers.
One is. David?
One here, one is here. Thank you very much. Wells Fargo is our banker, and I can't tell you how cooperative they were and how close we are with our banking relationship. Governor, I know you're a huge supporter of economic development, because we have to have investment, we have to create jobs in North Carolina. And more importantly, we need to create jobs in the East and the West, because it seems to me that the Triangle and Charlotte's doing okay. So we're just delighted that we can be creating some jobs in the West. The government agencies that we work with, the Department of Commerce, have been fantastic. Special recognition for Mayor Robert Smyer, Town Manager Todd Hearns. Is Todd here? Todd, County Commissioner Eisenhower, Chairman, and Tom Lundy of the staff of Catawba County. And again, I'll have to say the Catawba County Economic Development Corporation. It all turned out okay. We will have between 65 and 70 people here when we get this all cranked up and are running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Certainly not the biggest project that my good friend Governor Pat has had an opportunity to be present for a day like this, but one that's extremely important to our country. Now, as we decided we wanted to do this, there's one other group that played an important role that I want to recognize today, and that's our board of directors. Our chairman emeritus and his wife are here from New York. Morgan Miller and Margie, stand up. Julie left, who traveled, and you got to stand also, who came down from New York. Bob Miller, his wife, Linda Fanton, our CFO. Jim Budaball, our President and Chief Operating Officer. And our newest director who attended his first board meeting yesterday, Benham Portahimi. Associate Dean of Industry and Research, William Klopman, Distinguished Professor, Executive Director of the Nonwovens Institute at North Carolina State University. And we are so excited to have Benham on our board because we think that he's going to add a great deal to the success and the future success that we've had in the nonwoven business. So again, I want to say thank you to you all for being here. And I want to give the mayor an opportunity to say welcome on behalf of the town, and then the chairman of the county commissioners on behalf of Catawba, and then we'll have the governor of North Carolina, and I have about 3 pages that I'll introduce him in just a second. So, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chesnutt, and welcome everyone to the town of Maiden. Is this going through? Can everyone hear me? Yes. You know, he took a lot of words when I first got here. He told me I had 20 minutes, but I believe he said everything what he wanted to say in a few minutes. I could tell you my whole life story in 2 minutes. But it is a privilege to be here today, to have such a grand opening as we have in Maiden. I'm glad. He told the process, and my town manager told me, he said, don't forget Julie Ruin. Said she done an awful lot of work, and Scott. And a little story in behind all of this is, over the past few years, the county commissioner, the chairman of the county commissioners, Randy, and especially I give a lot of credit to my council in Maiden. They're very progressive, and if you're ready to come to Maiden, we're ready to deal with you. And we're going to make it easier, and Kitty Barnes there on the county commissioner, we worked real hard together. And we thank the governor for the grant that we got from North Carolina through things like that, make it available for us. We are a very small town, and Mr. Chesnutt said, more likely said he'd never heard of Maiden, but I'll bet you he has now. And all of you that are coming here for the first time, we welcome you back, and we thank you for everything that you do in our county, and God bless you.
Mayor. I said, I've got 20 minutes and I've got 15 of your minutes too. Yeah, this is a special site, as Mr. Chesnutt said. Over 100 years ago, a family in Catawba County had a vision. They took a risk. They had an entrepreneurial spirit, a dedication, and probably a lot of prayers. They developed a very successful company. And one of their sites was right here. That's the Red Stone with Carolina Mills. And through the decades, Catawba County has had that entrepreneurial spirit, and that's just one example of the many companies and manufacturers we have throughout this county. And with our great workforce, Catawba County has a tremendous heritage of manufacturing. Mr. Chesnutt, we appreciate your company being part of that heritage. And the county of Catawba, and Ms. Barnes, and one of our commissioners with us, certainly appreciates the opportunity that we've been given to participate here. We love working with the town of Maiden. I was the town of Maiden's lawyer for about 20 years. So Bob the Legend Smyer was my boss, and I learned a whole lot about good local government from Mayor Smyer and his council people. And Governor, we appreciate your participation, your vision, the contributions the governor and his administration have made, not only to this project, but to economic development throughout this state are tremendous. And our state is there for it. Thank you for that. And to Mr. Chesnutt, you and your company, congratulations to your success, your expansion. This is a state-of-the-art facility with a state-of-the-art company built by a Catawba County-owned construction company, family-owned construction company, Matthews Construction. And we appreciate your contribution to this also, and everybody making it work. And I'm convinced that we appreciate the faith that Carolina Nonwovens has given to Catawba County in locating here, and I am certain that this will be a long, prosperous relationship for all of us. So thank you. And now the main item.
I could not possibly say to our Governor Pat, who's a good friend of mine, how pleased I am that he took his time to come to Catawba County today. I know where he was yesterday. He was in Rocky Mount making a big announcement that's going to be something extremely good for Eastern North Carolina, and we still have a lot of roots in Eastern North Carolina. I could say a lot about McCrory, but I'm not, because we know who he is. And if we don't believe that this state's in good hands, I just ask you to look with me at the numbers of what's happened in the last 4 years in terms of where we are fiscally, what we've done for education, where we are in job creation, where we are in investment, and a multitude of other issues that have been attacked head on, led by Pat McCrory. So, Pat, delighted you're here.
I'll take you back to the public hearing. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, let me first thank Carolina Nonwovens. Your incredible leader that you have right here. What a visionary leader that you have. And let me tell you right now, the board of directors and their chairman and their new board member, I served on a board of thank you very much. I served on a board of directors for a manufacturing company before I was governor in Statesville, North Carolina. I know the margins are small. I know the schedule makes a difference. And I know these types of capital investment, buying equipment, are huge decisions that could make or break the company. And one of the big decisions they made was to continue to invest in North Carolina. And we need to give them another round of applause, because they have confidence in North Carolina, and we need to reward them for that confidence. So please give Jim and Joel You know what? The Carolina comeback continues, and it continues with Catawba County leading the way. You know, just 3 years ago, Catawba County's unemployment rate was over 11%. 3 years ago, Catawba County's unemployment rate was over 11%. I'm pleased to report today you're about at 4.5%. It's one of the largest drops. And it's because of manufacturing. And
And a lot of people gave up on manufacturing in North Carolina and our country during the last decade. We should never give up on manufacturing. Manufacturing is the heart of North Carolina, that and agriculture. And I'm proud to say that. It's always not high tech or biotech and things. Manufacturing is extremely important. Now, manufacturing is getting high tech, and it's extremely high tech. But manufacturing, where you make things, where you build things, where you innovate things, where you produce things, this is the strength of America. And to have Maiden, North Carolina continue to expand in our great state and then sent to the rest of the nation and the rest of the world is an attribute, first of all, to these men and women in blue. Because I'm guarantee you right now, Jim and the board would not have made this decision unless they could get the talent to come here and to live here and to make this their home. And more than anyone else, even more than the board, more than you, Jim, and I think you would agree with this, we need to give another round of applause for the men and women in blue. That's the best of America right there in the best of North Carolina. I need to also say, yesterday we did have a proud announcement. And it's an announcement that's going to help Carolina Nonwovens across the state. And we just announced a wonderful CSX intermodal facility in Rocky Mount. Rocky Mount's an area that hasn't rebounded as quick as others. And it's a huge announcement for the Twin Counties areas in Wilson and Rocky Mount, Edgecombe County, and Nash County. And they've been through some very difficult times, just like Catawba County, Caldwell County, and others, because they relied on manufacturing, but now it's coming back. And to have this new logistics facility is going to not only make a difference for that area, it's going to make a difference for companies like we're honoring today, because it's going to make it cheaper to transport their materials and their products, not just through the Carolinas, but in and around the country. This is going to be the state-of-the-art facility that'll be second to none. There's another one in Ohio, there's another one in Baltimore, and this facility will also have an impact even on this region. Because in addition to that, we just opened up what we call the Carolina Connector between Wilmington and Charlotte and all the way to Asheville. And this will help connect this area of the state, the west, all the way to Wilmington. And the port is extremely important. And one of my major goals as governor is what we call NC Connect. There's no town or county that can stand on an island by itself. We've got to connect these towns and counties with good roads, good rail, and good ports. And if we don't do that, these towns will not survive. And so the connection also between Wilmington and the Charlotte region is going to be extremely important for companies like this, especially rail. We're putting the state of North Carolina, I made a commitment, we're going to put more money in roads and infrastructure, and I added infrastructure, and that includes rail. As of yesterday, we're going to put $100 million into rail in North Carolina, and that's going to help companies like this great company right here in North Carolina and right here in Caldwell County. So we need to have your continued support of that effort. I just want to say also, your community college here, Catawba Valley Community College. I first want to thank the people of this region who supported the bonds. Our technical institutes, our community college, I still call them technical institutes, frankly. I like that name. Because the main reason for our community college was to support industry. And I'm making sure that we put that as our major goal. But you've got a great community college here. And to have you support the bond effort, in fact, in the bond, I think you're going to get about $6.2 million new dollars for Catawba Valley Community College. And that's going to be extremely important to make sure that we get the talent needed to meet the workforce needs of this plant and other plants that hopefully will spread throughout this industrial park right here in Maiden. So we've got some great vision for the future, and we've got to keep building the relationships that we have with Jim and their board and the entire community. Your mayor and chairman of the county commission and the elected officials, I'm telling you, they did a super job. And I'd like to thank my Commerce Department for also helping out to speed this process up. We're learning the quicker you move and adapt to the schedules that the private sector needs, the more success you're going to have. Not the other way. It's the private sector shouldn't have to adapt to government. Government needs to adapt to the private sector. And that's the change in philosophy that we're bringing to North Carolina. And that means I get to compete against South Carolina and Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley's a good friend, but we like to beat each other. Believe me, South Carolina would love to have this plant right across the border. But guess what? Catawba County won the plant.
They did come to see us.
Yeah, I know. You don't have to tell me. When I got elected, Nikki Haley and I, we were together one time. She was actually helping me get reelected or get elected for the first time. And she whispered to me, this is 3 years ago, she said, you know, Pat, we don't even consider North Carolina competition anymore. Your corporate tax is too high, your income tax is too high, your regulations are too extreme, things of this nature. And I said, well, Governor, when I get elected, we're going to kick your tail in South Carolina. And she said, may the best woman win. So guess what? The best woman won right here. On behalf of the state of North Carolina, and on behalf of the Commerce Department, John Scavarla, and by the way, Sharon Decker was my first Commerce Secretary right from Lincolnton, right down the road. We're proud of this teamwork that made this happen, and may we have a great 100 years or more at this wonderful, wonderful site. God bless you, Sheriff. Great seeing you too. Thank you all very much. Get you another North Carolina flag here. It's going to be delivered to your plant, but I also want to give you a special china plate that I'd like you to display. Oh, Mr. Chairman,
You give it to our Sheriff Emeritus.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like you to display this plate in New York. I want you to show New York and Governor Cuomo. Let me tell him his commercials aren't working. We're honored to have you, and we're thank you for your confidence in North Carolina. And we do love New York.
Thank you for all you've done for us. I wouldn't be here for the wonderful things that you've done here to enhance everything in this United States, in North Carolina.
God bless you.
By the way, you know we're getting to the New York out of slogan. What's that? That was the slogan of East Carolina 10 years ago. That's exactly where it came from.
Yeah, East Carolina's a little sensitive about that.
A little sensitive about it, but we don't have enough money to bring a lawsuit.
They tried that. They actually got their lawsuit against us.
I know. Jim Butterball is going to give us some instructions on two things. Number one, we'd like for you to see the inside of the plant. And number two, we want you to join us for lunch. The plant is not operating. We thought it might be best for this number of people that we close it down for a couple of hours. So we're going to look at it fast and eat fast so we can get production started.